Hey everybody, ChristopherOdd here. Welcome to the mother of all update videos. I'm going to be covering off a lot of different things, including but not limited to Lords of the Fallen, Dragon Age Inquisition, some scheduling stuff, some communication things, The Witcher 3, some miscellaneous items. Got a lot of things to cover. If you've asked me a question in the recent past, then there's a good chance that I'm going to answer it in this video. So let's get started. As you can see in the background, this is Lords of the Fallen. And what I'm doing here is re-rolling a new character. I got really kind of frustrated with my old character. It was a super fragile build, and I'm not used to the mechanics yet in Lords of the Fallen to go with a build like that. So I re-rolled as a warrior, and I'm having a ton more fun. I'm really enjoying it. The video that you see in the background is basically a summary of the events up to where I left off in the previous series, so that when I pick up again, you don't have to rewatch me do the exact same enemies, the exact same boss fights and everything. I will say that the bosses are still very challenging, which I'm super happy about, but this build just suits my playstyle a little bit more. I can kind of mix some magic stuff with being able to actually block and wield some really impressive, really fun weapons. So it is giving me more of the Dark Souls vibe with this character than I was getting from the other one. So I'm going to continue it. I'll talk about the scheduling in a little bit though, but I do want to apologize for the lack of communication around that series. Until I started re-rolling the new character, I didn't think I was going to continue because I just wasn't enjoying it, but now I'm actually really enjoying it. So I'll talk about the scheduling in a little bit here. Next up, we're going to talk about Dragon Age Inquisition. So a lot of people have been asking me, am I going to play this? Am I going to play this? Big question I get is, how are you preparing for Dragon Age Inquisition? And I'll tell you, there's a few things. First of all, yes, I am going to play it. Second of all, there's three things that I'm doing to prepare for Dragon Age Inquisition. The first thing is reading this Kotaku article, and I know Kotaku kind of here and there, they rub people the wrong way, but I'm going to put a link in the description below, and you can check out the article yourself, but I think it does a pretty good job of summarizing what you need to know about Dragon Age going into it. The second thing I'm going to be doing is watching another YouTube channel that does a lot of Dragon Age lore. The channel is called Shoddycast, with 2 D's, not T's. I think that's going to be a really good primer to understand this world a little bit, and I think it will be necessary to understand this world a little bit before I go into it. So I'll be watching those before I do my third and final step of preparation. Third and final step is going through the Dragon Age Keep. And if you don't know what that is, it's a website called Dragon Age Keep, where you can make the choices from the first couple of games. And I guess it links with your Origin account so that you are able to pick up Inquisition using those decisions that you made on Dragon Age Keep, which is awesome. Really cool way to do it. I tried to play Dragon Age Origins a couple of times actually, but it just feels really dated and it's hard for me to get into. It's unfortunate because I hear such good things, but I hear a lot of back and forth on whether Dragon Age 2 was actually any good, and I'm not going to get into that argument now, but I am going to put the work in order to get prepared for Dragon Age Inquisition. And this brings me to something I'd like to discuss with you guys a little bit and give you my thoughts on. And the topic I want to discuss is around transparency and sponsorships. Recently, I was contacted by a member of EA's marketing team, and I was asked if I would be interested in having some sponsored videos for Dragon Age Inquisition. And I was thinking, okay, well, usually these things are going to be some type of an opinion piece where they're asking you to only highlight very positive aspects of their game or don't show anything that's negative, things like that. And I was actually really surprised to see that the level of transparency with the person I was talking to was very high, and I appreciated that very much. I got a copy on my hands of the assignment, it's called, and they're only looking for 2 things. One is they're looking for character creation, which I'm going to be doing anyways, and they're looking to highlight some of the battles with dragons, which I would be doing anyways. So all this to say is that I have to consider everything that's going on in the gaming scene right now, and I think one of the hot topics is transparency and who's backing who and who's supporting which developers where and why, and there's so many questions and who to trust and who not to trust. My thing with you guys is that if you can't trust me, then that's a big issue, and I would be absolutely devastated to ever lose that trust with you guys, hence why I'm being so transparent about this. I'll even put a little overlay on the screen of what the assignment is so you can see all of the details. The only stipulation that you'll notice is that there will be a 5-second watermark at the beginning of any sponsored videos. Really, I hope that doesn't impact your enjoyment of the story and the way that I'm trying to communicate it to you. So with all of this being said, I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from and trying to be as transparent as possible. I would never take on an assignment of any kind from any company that asked me to form a specific opinion, to hide any issues that there were, or to manipulate my thought process in any way. My trust with you guys is the most important thing to me, and I cannot stress that enough. Okay, so the next thing is talking a little bit about scheduling, because if you're kind of doing the math in your head, you're thinking, well, you're bringing back Lords of the Fallen, you're already playing XCOM, you're playing Wasteland 2, you're playing Alien, and then you're going to be adding Dragon Age Inquisition. That's a lot to be handling, so how are you going to schedule it? I'll tell you what, one of the things that's important to me is that I continue to produce content with a wide variety of games. 5 games, it's way too much, and I'm fully aware of that. That being said, the 2 priority games that I'm going to be playing are Alien and Dragon Age Inquisition. I feel like right now my channel's kind of in this weird spot where I don't have like a really thick story game, and so those are the 2 that I'm going to really focus on. I'm hoping to have daily XCOM, daily Wasteland 2, Lords of the Fallen probably every other day. But if anything has to drop off for a day, then it's going to be Wasteland 2 or XCOM. And if you're into like channel analytics and video analytics, things like that, you probably would notice that Wasteland 2 it's not doing really well, but I love that game. I'm having such a good time. It's like my first experience with one of those old school style RPGs where you can kind of do anything, and I'm currently at this point in the game where I've really messed something up and it's making everything else a lot more difficult. I won't spoil it if anybody's interested in checking it out, but I really enjoy that game, so I will be completing it. XCOM is probably always going to be here. It's not going anywhere. It's really not. The Long War is proving to be a very difficult mod and difficult challenge, specifically the air warfare aspect that I'm trying to conquer right now. And Lords of the Fallen, it's going to be one of those things that comes out whenever I get a chance to do it. That doesn't mean that it's only going to be like once a week. It's probably going to be a few times a week. That is what I could reasonably commit to. So, this kind of brings me to like an overall larger topic that I'd like to discuss with you guys as well, and it's just about how to improve communication with you guys and between you guys, between you and me, and any other way that you can see that partnership working. So there's 3 kind of subcategories here, and the first one is that I would like to start doing a weekly update video. It wouldn't be anything major, but it would be a point of reference that we could all have where I talk about any updates for the channel or myself personally, any type of plans that I have for games that are coming up or things that I'm going to cover or look into, or any questions that I might have for you guys about maybe different strategies in certain games or even how different systems work and things like that. And then it also gives me an interesting avenue to touch base on any kind of news that's happening in the gaming industry and try to get a little bit more involved on that side. I'm not really a heavily opinionated person, and there's other channels that do that really well, but I do get a lot of questions on things that are happening out there, and it's a point where we can all kind of discuss it and get a little bit more communication going between myself and you guys, because that's something that even back to my channel roots 2 years ago was super important to me. It used to be a point in time where I could respond to literally every comment, and I really enjoy doing that. I still try to respond to comments where I can, but understandably it's getting to the point where it's difficult to catch everything, so I try to stick to like recent videos that have been uploaded so that I can keep that conversation going. And you guys actually help me a lot, believe it or not. You guys really do impact the way that I play games without being total backseat gamers. There are that 5% that are the super vocal minority that hate everything, but for the most part, you guys are pretty great. The second area of communication that I would really like to get some input on is the use of a subreddit in order to foster some longer form discussion, not just between me and you, but between each other, because I think that there's some very good discussions that get really buried in a sea of YouTube comments, and being able to utilize a subreddit for that could be super beneficial. I have registered the ChristopherOdd subreddit, and I'd be looking for a couple of things. One, any ideas you have as to best utilize that, whether it's per episode or per series, probably a better idea in my opinion. I would also need some people that would be interested in moderating that subreddit, because I wouldn't have the time. And one thing that I think, especially people that have been around for a long time, will be very happy to hear is that I'm going to be bringing back the Let's Discuss series. If you don't know what that is, it's a forum where we set up a Google Hangout and it's streamed live to the channel, where we discuss a series that is just completed. And what I try to do is rotate people in and out of there probably every 20 to 30 minutes to get as many people engaged as possible, but you can still participate via text, chat, or Twitter. We basically try to answer as many questions as we can and just have a discussion about the game, what we liked, what we didn't like, the lore, the story, everything we can think of. And I've enjoyed every single one of them. It is a little bit of a time commitment, but I really enjoyed that, and it's something that I'm looking to bring back for bigger series that I finish. So let's move on to The Witcher 3. It's coming out end of February. I literally cannot wait. I think about it all the time, super excited about it. But I will be starting another Witcher playthrough, The Witcher 2, in December. Probably mid-December we'll get started, and we'll be taking the Yorveth path. And what I'm looking to do is time it so that we literally end like right before The Witcher 3 starts. And a question that's going to come up is, which save am I going to use? Am I going to go with Roach, or if I'm going to go with Yorveth? I'm not really sure. My gut's telling me that I'll probably go with Yorveth. First of all of the decisions will be a lot fresher in my mind, and I think he's going to prove to be more interesting than Roche. Like, Roche was like very expected, very traditional military guy, whereas Yorveth I think is going to be a little bit more rogue. That would be the best way I can kind of describe it. And I think that his storyline is going to be very interesting. I literally have no idea what the differences are in essentially Act 2 of The Witcher 2 between Roche and Yorveth, but I am crazy excited. I have a lot of work ahead of me to clear my plate before we get to The Witcher 2, and I think we'll get there. It'll be good. I'm going to be very busy for the next little while, but I enjoy it. So as long as I enjoy it, then it doesn't seem like work. Last thing to talk about is just kind of miscellaneous things. I get asked a lot of questions that about different games that I'm going to play and suggestions on different things to play, so I'm going to address some of those here. The biggest one that comes up for whatever reason, I don't know where it started, I think it was Beyond Two Souls, and then after that everybody on almost every video that I do says I need to play Heavy Rain, and I will do it. I'm absolutely going to play Heavy Rain, but it's certainly not going to be until things calm down and there's a little bit more of a lull where I can catch up and have that as a secondary series. My actual goal is to have no more than 2, maximum 3 series at any time, and as I explained earlier, things are pretty crazy right now. So Heavy Rain will come. Another one is another BioWare game called Knights of the Old Republic, and I've heard fantastic things about it. I'm not a big Star Wars fan myself, but apparently the story and the plot and the way that the game is done is just very, very good. And even if you're not a Star Wars fan, you could find a lot of meat in it. So I will try that at some point. Another one that came up recently is Valkyria Chronicles, which is now on Steam, and it looks really interesting. It's kind of got like grid-based combat like XCOM or Wasteland 2, but then some story overlaid. That's a low priority, but maybe at some point. I would certainly like to check it out, even if it's just for me. Far Cry 4, it's coming out next week as well. The Far Cry games seem like fun to just kind of sit back and just chill and play, but in terms of doing it from a Let's Play perspective, I'm not sure that it's going to be the right approach for me, and I'm not sure that it's something I'm going to be like wanting to come back to. So it might be something I check out on my own time again, but I don't think I'm going to be making videos on it, at least in the near future. If things ever get to a slower point, then maybe do the whole Far Cry series. Who knows? Don't get your hopes up, though. Another question I get a lot of is what happened to mine path to Thalamus? And you know what? Again, it's kind of on me to communicate these things better. I communicate a lot of these things on Twitter, but less so on the channel, and I probably should. Makes sense. But regardless, I just kind of got to the point where it wasn't... Like, the puzzles were becoming almost frustrating and not fun to solve. Like, one of the things that I always compare to in a puzzle game is Portal 2, or even the first Portal, where the puzzles are fun and challenging, but they're never frustrating. And to reach that level of sophistication in a puzzle game, I think is very difficult. But when you're building a puzzle game, that's kind of the benchmark that you're being held to. And, you know, maybe I'm not smart enough to figure it out. But I don't like getting into games where it's repetitive and frustrating. So that's why I stopped with Mine Path to Thalamus. Although I was kind of intrigued as to what was going on, it wasn't enough to push me back in there and dedicate a lot of time to it. Another thing that comes up is, am I going to do any more of the Odd Looks At videos, where it's a first impressions based video of any smaller type games that come out that I don't want to dedicate a full Let's Play to, but I'm still kind of interested in checking out. And I will do those from time to time. It's not going to be regular content, at least not at this point, but you can expect to see some here and there for any kind of smaller releases that I think deserve a little bit more attention. But that's pretty much it for this giant update on all things on the channel. So if you guys have any additional questions or any thoughts or comments, please leave them below. And if you have any specific feedback, you can leave that below as well. But thank you guys very much for watching and or listening, and we'll see you in the next series. Take care. Bye.